At the funeral, the police officer sees everyone crying over his own death. Suddenly, he rushes to the grave to talk to his wife. However, nobody seems to recognize him. How come the police officer is still alive? Why is his loving wife scared of him and claims not to know him? This is Movie Shortens. Let's find out the answer in the following movie titled R.I.P.D. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. At night, Nick Walter, a police officer, digs a hole in his backyard, planning to bury some broken fragments made of gold. He plants an orange tree on top after. The next morning, his wife Julia asks him about the strange orange tree in their garden. Nick pretends to be innocent and says that it's a symbol of prosperity. The two have some fun before Nick gets to work. At his workplace, Boston Police Department, Nick meets his partner, Bobby Hayes, in the locker room. It turns out Bobby and Nick stole the gold from a drug dealer they arrested yesterday. The two split the gold evenly and keep it for themselves. After the talk with Julia this morning, Nick changes his mind. Nick tells Bobby that he will return his part of gold for evidence, and no one knows about Bobby's part. Bobby tries to convince Nick not to do so, but Nick says that he doesn't want to risk Julia's happiness for his own greed. At that moment, another policeman appears to call the team to arrest the drug dealer Lord Garza. Bobby, Nick, and the SWAT break the door and enter to hunt for Garza. Nick spots Garza and chases him up to the roof of the building. As Nick reports to the team about Garza who escaped from a window, Bobby suddenly appears. Bobby then tells Nick that he can't let Nick turn the gold in. While Nick is still confused, Bobby quickly draws the gun and opens fire on Nick, knocking Nick off the stairs and landing on his neck. Nick wakes up and looks around the crime scene. Time strangely stands still at that moment. In the frozen fire scene inside the building, Nick is the only one who can move around. As Nick walks out of the building, he sees a tornado-like hole in the sky. Nick is then thrown into the hole. He flies through the stream and suddenly gets pulled out of the cloud pool. Nick sees himself in a chair, facing a coldly woman named Proctor. Nick realizes he's dead and he is in a judgment room for his final testing place. However, Proctor informs Nick that the RIPD, which stands for Rest in Peace Department, will recruit Nick to be a police officer in this afterlife world. His mission is to protect the living world from the deados, the dead people that refuse to go to the afterlife. Nick has to serve in RIPD 100 years by returning to the earth and destroying the deados, making them return to the afterlife and face the judgment for their final resting place. After that, he can operate back in Boston. As Nick is urged to see Julia again, he promptly agrees. His left chest is then imprinted with RIPD badge. Proctor then takes Nick through the cages where they lock the captured deados. After that, Nick and Proctor enter the RIPD Boston. As looking around the busy police department, Nick sees a monstrous giant deado fight back the police. The monster is then blown up by Roy, an excellent RIPD officer. Proctor then tells Roy that Nick will be his new partner. Nick follows Roy to a bathroom where Roy kicks on a toilet flush, bringing the two back to Boston through a shop. Roy takes Nick to see his funeral in real life. Seeing Bobby, the killer, consoles Julia, Nick becomes angry and rushes out to meet his wife. However, grieving Julia doesn't realize Nick. Bobby hurries up, aggressively protecting Julia from Nick, and also apparently not recognizing him. He quickly gets stained by other policemen. Nick comes to ask Roy why Julia didn't recognize him. Surprisingly, Roy explains that due to the higher powers of the universe, they don't allow RIPD officers to reveal who they are to anyone that used to know them. Nick then receives an ID revealing his real appearance in the living world, an old Chinese man. Roy also appears as a hot blonde lady. Only RIPD officers can see their real former selves. The two get in a car and start their duty looking for deados in the city. As the two drive through the streets of Boston, Nick learns that Roy used to be betrayed and murdered by a partner when he was alive. Just like Nick, Roy dislikes having a partner ever since. Roy advises Nick not to think about reuniting with Julia because she is now a widow and Nick can't have her back in real life. Roy takes Nick to a building where a deados is hiding. Roy explains that the rotting deados' soul infects the environment around them. Roy and Nick follow the broken signals to track the deados. In the elevator, Roy gives Nick a special bullet clip, which are more powerful bullets than those Proctor handed Nick earlier. Roy explains that if a deados become out of control, these soul eraser bullets will disperse that deado's soul and cease to exist. RIPD can also face the same fate if struck by such bullets. The two then follow the rotten trails on the wall leading to a suspect dead house. As Roy knocks on the door, a man named Stanley shows up. Stanley keeps refusing to be a deado. As Roy challenges him with tons of evidence, Stanley reveals himself in a rotted deado nature. Nick cuffs Stanley, but the monster suddenly pulls out the fridge's door and throws it to Roy. The deado then cuts off his cuffed arm and rushes out to escape. The big-mouthed monster finishes his food before jumping through the building window. Roy then pushes Nick out of the window, landing on Stanley's body. Now Nick realizes the RIPD are immortal. As Nick attacks the deado with its cuffed arm, Stanley throws up all his food. Strangely, all of his swallowed food includes some golden fragments, which look like those Nick and Bobby used to bury before. When Stanley is about to attack Nick, Roy erases the monster in time. Come back to the headquarters, the office becomes very busy due to the colony of deados reported in Boston. Nick and Roy submit the gold as evidence. However, Nick is still concerned about the connection of the gold fragments. He thinks there must be a reason that Deado Stanley tried very hard to protect and hide the gold. Nick suggests that a long-time RIPD agent like Roy will have a Deado informant that can help with the investigation. Roy and Nick get to see Elliot. Nick hands Elliot a piece of gold so he can help the cops with some valuable information. However, as they watch Elliot from the car outside, the two realize Elliot gives the gold to Bobby. Roy and Nick pursue Bobby's car, ending up stopping at Nick's house. Bobby plays innocent, asking Julia if Nick seemed alright the day he died. Julia takes Bobby to the orange tree to show her husband's last strange action. When Bobby finds the hidden gold, Julia becomes disappointed at Nick for stealing gold. Bobby assures Julia that he will find out the truth as Nick is his best friend. The two continue to follow Bobby to find out where he takes the gold. They arrive at a building. As the dog barks, Roy spots a deado in the shape of a fat man. Bobby then hands the suitcase of gold to the fat man named Pulaski. Roy and Nick quickly approach Pulaski and lead him to a freezer. Soon the deado transform into the hulking monster, breaking the freezer door and running away from the RIPD. As Pulaski lands on the building wall and mocks them, Roy starts his soul eraser gun and shoots it to the monster's bottom. However, with a super strength, Pulaski drags Roy across the city, turning all the vehicles to crash to each other. Nick tries to back up Roy, but he is hit by a car. Luckily, Nick is fine because he is immortal. As Roy instructions, Nick manages to fire Pulaski on the head with the soul bullet gun. However, Pulaski is very smart as he covers his head with the suitcase before leaping to a window. At this point, Roy is still attached to Pulaski. The deado quickly smashes the elevator to escape. Nick and Roy can attack the monster two ways out in the elevator cable. Roy also joins Nick in the cable. As the elevator breaks the roof, the two manages to keep the suitcase, but Pulaski luckily escapes. After the chaos, Proctor appears and blames the two officers about letting the deado escape in his monster nature in the living world. The two soon learn that the collected gold pieces are actually part of an incredibly dangerous artifact known as the Staff of Jericho. Proctor explains that if the Staff of Jericho is activated, it can reverse the flow of dead humans, bringing them all back down to Earth. This eventually causes the apocalypse. Aside from the golden components, the artifact requires human blood to power it up. However, due to their mistake in Pulaski's event, Roy and Nick will be punished by a scheduled hearing tomorrow. There is a high possibility that both Roy and Nick will be erased. Being so disappointed, Nick leaves the two, saying that he has somewhere more important to be. Nick appears at the stadium to see Julia for the last time. However, Julia gets scared of the old Chinese man who keeps following her, so she runs away. Roy again tells Nick to stop bothering Julia and accepts his fate. At the pier, Nick intends to stop the coming apocalypse, which Roy eventually agrees to take part in. They only have one more day, so they will spend it to eliminate the artifact operation. Nick and Roy know that Bobby plays an important role in this event and probably he is also a deado. Meanwhile, Bobby meets a man in a sports jersey in a coffee shop, handing him half of some kind of metallic sphere. They talk about how they've finally built a network to take down RIPD and restore the Staff of Jericho, something no deado has ever been able to do in the past 3,000 years. The next morning, Bobby can see Roy and Nick arrive outside of his house. He meant to let the RIPD arrest him. At the headquarters, there are also other captured deados. Among them is the one in the sports jersey. As the clerk throws the submitted half sphere, there is also the other half of it in a trash bin. Suddenly, the two move around each other and attach into a complete sphere. The whole headquarters staff then became standstill. It turns out that this is the whole Deado's plan to trap the police in some minutes. The Deados quickly break into the storage and steal all the golden fragments in the RAPD. As the RAPD staff starts to get some move back, the Deados successfully escape from the bathroom. Roy, Nick, and other RAPD immediately pursue the Deados after that. On the ground, as Bobby's order, the Deados put all the pieces together. Assembling the artifact, the energy starts to rise from the spot into the sky, opening a hole in the overhead clouds. Nick and Roy also arrive on Earth. The RIPD quickly spit out to kill the Deados. One by one, Roy turns the Deados down with his talented shooting skill. Meanwhile, Bobby sends two disguised officers to pick up Julia, attempting to use Julia as a source of blood to activate the artifact. Bobby soon reveals this true nature in front of Julia. Back to the chaotic streets, Nick manages to drive Roy to reach the artifact. On the way, they got stuck with Giant Pulaski. The two open fire and Pulaski is finally erased. As the two arrive, Nick sees Bobby stab Julia in her back. Julia's blood begins to gather at the artifact and activates the process. Nick asks Roy to try to stop the Staff of Jericho while he fights one-on-one with Bobby to save Julia. Bobby tries to destroy Nick with a huge rock. In a moment, Roy notices the Jeep flying above. He lassos the Jeep and, pulling with all his strength, Roy finally drops the Jeep, smashing the artifact in pieces. The running process is halted, breaking the flows of deceased people. Nick fires at Bobby's face, making him erase too. At the moment, Julia is dying. She is able to see Nick again in his real body. This event finally helps Nick to do what he has to do, accept his own death and let go, telling Julia that she must live her life without him. She kisses her goodbye and sends her back to living. Later, Julia wakes up in a hospital. Proctor reunites Roy and Nick outside, telling the two to continue their servings in RIPD. Nick and Roy enter the car and revealing Nick's new appearance as a young Girl Scout. Like and subscribe to watch more videos like this, and don't forget to turn on your notification. That really helps my channel. Thanks for watching!